And welcome back to Who Would Win. And today's Who Would Win comes to us from Red King. I've got YouTube King, Blue King, I got a Red King, I got a Shadow King, I got a lot of kings who give me suggestions. And he asked the question, who would win? Itachi Uchiha from Naruto versus Ichigo Kurosaki from Bleach. Now, when going over I've done these two, I've done Ichigo I think at least twice on the channel, in terms of the Who Would Wins. At least I know for certain once. And I've done Itachi at least once. Plus, I watched pretty much all of Naruto and read all of Bleach. So I know these characters very well. So what I'm actually going to do more than what I normally would is do kind of a comparison analysis to them, and then give you the scenario. So really, I mean, Itachi is a ex-shinobi of the Hidden Leaf. He went rogue after killing his entire clan, became part of the Akatsuki, and eventually was killed, brought back, and then, laid the rest after that. Ichigo Kurosaki is a 15-16 after the time skip, year-old teenage boy who becomes a substitute Soul Reaper, Shinigami, if you will, capable of using pretty much all their abilities. We've never seen him use Kido, but hypothetically he could learn it. So comparing them, I mean, we got to compare them on the ground on a bunch of different levels. Now, in terms of just pure physicality, Itachi loses in a fight between, like a pure physical confrontation between Ichigo. The reason for this is, and we're going to give Itachi a little bit of leeway, he's not going to have that disease he had. We don't know what he actually had. He just had a disease that was killing him. Looked like maybe like a form of tuberculosis. He was coughing up blood. But we're going to null that. He's not going to have that. That being said, Itachi still, while he can take a hit, don't get me wrong, he's a ninja. He's a very dangerous ninja at that. He can't take the amount of physical mana because he's still human. Ichigo, when he's a Soul Reaper, Shinigami form, technically isn't human anymore. He's a beyond human. He can take a far more punishment, survive being impaled, survive having his arms cut off. I don't think he actually had like a limb ever cut off, but still, he even technically survived that blast Ukihara did to him. He had went into hollow form at that point. Yeah, I mean, Ichigo, durability-wise, Ichigo can just tank far more damage than Itachi can. Because Itachi would have to avoid just a standard like fireball jutsu from like Sasuke in human form. If he got hit with that, it would kill him. Ichigo is different. Ichigo has survived hits far more extensive than just a fireball to the face with mild injuries, if no injuries. So durability-wise, Ichigo has the edge in that. Strength-wise, again, Ichigo has the advantage in that as well. Ichigo has done a lot of things, including like block a very powerful blow from base form Yami, who was technically a 10th Espada in his base form, but when released he's the 0, so he's the strongest. Still, he tanked a blow from that, or blocked a blow from that with no problem. He's durable enough to shatter the Zanpakuto of one of the lieutenants with just his bare hands. That's early on in the series. He's capable of going toe-to-toe with some of the more physically powerful individuals in the Soul Society and in Wakamundo, and even in the Sturmritters. So he, physically speaking, and that's not to say Itachi again can't dish out a decent like right hook or something. It's not to say that physically speaking he's weak or anything. It's just comparatively, Itachi always had a weaker constitution. He was just more of an average shinobi in those regards than someone like Ichigo. Speed-wise, Ichigo also has him beat. Itachi's pretty fast, and he's probably does the Shujuin, kind of the body flicker technique, which is kind of like a teleportation technique, sort of. Ichigo just, especially when you talk about Bankai Ichigo, already knows Shumpo. Then you go Bankai. He moves so fast he can make multiple copies of himself. You can crank in Hollow Mask there, then Ichigo just, yeah. And you're stacking, and you got to stack that on top of that. So it's just, no, Ichigo, from just the pure physical perspective, outranks Itachi. Should also note real quick, we're not using the 1,000-Year Blood, basically the last version of Ichigo we saw, 1,000-Year Blood Arc Ichigo, simply because we just don't know enough about him to use him. We know a little bit about, we know Zangetsu, he has 2 Zangetsus, and he can use 2, like, a Getsuga Tensho, and a weak one and a strong one, and make, like, a cross called Getsuga Jusho, or something like that. We know he could go into like a hybrid form of his hollow form and Shinigami form, and we know he does have Bankai. What his Bankai could do is pretty much like a souped up version of his form of Bankai. But because of that, we'd have to speculate, and we're not doing that. Anyway, moving on. In terms of actual pure skill, this is where Itachi kind of outshines Ichigo in most categories. In terms of actual, because he's a trained shinobi, and one's the strongest out of the Hidden Leaf Village, from his time period, or from his generation anyway. Strong enough to take out Kakashi, strong enough to go toe to toe with someone like Jiraiya if he had to. Jiraiya, though it's theorized Jiraiya probably could beat him when it's all said and done. But he'd be like, Jiraiya was someone Itachi didn't want to go up against if he had to. So he's a master of stealth, something Ichigo's not. He's a master of he's spent. Here's something that I made a comment of in the Madara versus Aizen video, is that Aizen has lived far longer than Madara has, but he hasn't, and he's certainly spent some time on the battlefield. But when you actually live and breathe in war, live on the battlefield. Wow, that was a weird phrase. Battlefield. Yeah, that's what I mean. Live on the battlefield. That right there, especially spend like a decade living on the battlefield, that does counteract a lot of experience. Even if you've lived for 1,000 years, if you haven't been spending all that time on the battlefield, like literally 1,000 years on the battlefield, or like half that time, or 100 years on the battlefield, we just don't know. So that's why I gave, in that fight, Madara the edge in terms of actual hand-to-hand combat and things along those lines, because he's literally just spent more time born into and lived in war. Likewise, I got to go with the same with Itachi. But the difference with Itachi versus Ichigo is Ichigo is no slouch. He beat Tatsuki, who was the second-ranked female martial artist in Japan at that time. And he was better than her, and he only improved throughout the series. The problem is that Ichigo, as far as actual experiences, probably only had maybe a year's worth of combat, maybe 2 on the battlefield. Not so much. Itachi was born into went into assassination, killed off an entire clan of Uchiha, who were one of the most powerful Leaf Village clans at the time. Again, he wasn't born into war, but raised into combat and on the battlefield, just had years to hone his craft on the battlefield, whereas Ichigo hasn't. So in that regard, he has the edge. In terms of tactics, I also say he has the edge. He just has far more in his arsenal, has far more years of experience to outrank Ichigo in that regard. Now, I would say overall, Itachi's got the edge on him in terms of unarmed and armed combat. However, I would argue Ichigo is at the very minimum a better swordsman than Itachi. Only because Itachi, while we've seen him, I think, using a sword once or twice, is not, it's not like it's not like Sasuke, who carried a sword with him constantly and, worked, trained in swordsmanship. Itachi, I'm sure, trained into it to a certain degree, but it wasn't like his specialty. Ichigo is clearly a swordsman through and through, so I would give him that edge. And then you got to go with their actual special abilities and powers. And in terms of special abilities, actual abilities, Ichigo only has the Gechiko Tencho. So Itachi beats him because he has, several fireball jutsu: Phoenix Flower Jutsu, Standard Fireball Jutsu, Dragon Fire Jutsu. He's got Crow Summoning, Shadow Clone, Substitution. He has Sharingan Genjutsu, other standard Genjutsus. That's not even including his Sharingan, which can copy movements, jutsu, and perceived jutsu as well. And not even going into the Mangekyo Sharingan, which we'll get into as soon as we get right now, actually. With Mangekyo, he has the access to Tsukuyomi, which is basically that supreme genjutsu, like one of the most powerful torture in your mind. And he has access to Amaterasu, which is the black flames of hell that burn anything, including other flames. And then he has Susanoo, which Susanoo has access to, I'm not going to try to pronounce it, Tabasco? Basically the sealing sword. It's an ethereal sword that seals objects. That's why he was able to get Orochimaru out of Sasuke. He has access to, I believe, it's the Yata Mirror, which basically reflects any attack back. And then I can't remember the third thing, but it's basically like a range attack that's like these energy beads, so he fires them. Now, Susanoo's are not impervious, though. You can break or destroy a Susanoo. Demonstrated that when he rammed into Sasuke. with his Sasuke. He cracked the ribs of the Susanoo. Granted, his Susanoo wasn't perfect yet, or Susanoo, depending on how you pronounce it, but still. Likewise, Ichigo has his hollow capabilities. His hollow capabilities up his power dramatically. If you just going by what we saw with his second confrontation with Grimmjow, he could barely keep up with Grimmjow in base form against his base form. But the minute he put on the mask, he dominated Grimmjow. So in that first time he donned the mask, so it's stands reason that he gets a solid multiplier because he was ragdolling Grimmjow at that point. So it's probably like somewhere in either between like a Bankai boost, like 5 to 10 times. For conservative sake, we'll go about 5 times. And then you factor in when he goes into his hollow form, not the lizard-looking one, but the Vassalourdes one, which is the one we're going with. And that gets up to at least 10 times, because at that point, Ichigo's hollow form couldn't keep up with second form Ukihara. But once he went Vassalourdes hollow form, again, he was more or less ragdolling Ukihara. So that's got to be a minimum of 10 times boost. And that hollow form was powerful enough just from swiping the ground, just raised the freaking floor beneath him. He was on like a building, but just raised that. Ukihara was able to literally grab and tank and destroy. I can't remember the name of it. It was an energy lance that Ukihara threw that pretty much had the power of a nuclear blast. And he was able to just grab that and tank that. Plus, he can use his own Sero, which is probably stronger than what that was. So his hollow form is freaking nuts. Probably has instant regeneration like his previous hollow form did. So, yeah, there's that. Now, what is this going to come down to? It's probably going to come down to power versus technique. So, the fight would start, and Ichigo would probably wind up meeting Itachi in some way, shape, or form. They'd have a quick back and forth, and I bet it would be something akin to Ichigo sensing like the Getomaz or the Ten Tails as it is statue. And it's something's weird about the Ryatsu about it. So he goes to investigate, finds Itachi. Itachi basically says, "I'll stall him, go." And the fight commences. Ichigo immediately just comes in, swipes at him, cuts him in half, but it turns out to be a genjutsu. Itachi then comes in with crows that turn into shurikens. Ichigo basically just, gets a Gatencho, and then boom, blast that away. So now Itachi comes in, fireball jutsu. Once again, Ichigo just kind of swipes, blasts that away, and then Genjo Gatenchos again. So Shumpo's behind Itachi, who then again disappears in the thing of crows. Like, this is getting annoying. He hears like Zangetsu's voice, like he's using some kind of illusion. He's using it to infect your body. However, we can use that by basically using his Ryatsu, because the nature of Ryatsu is its spiritual energy. Spiritual energy does make up a component of chakra, but Ryatsu and spiritual energy and chakra are not the same thing. That doesn't mean it doesn't affect Ichigo quite the same, but it's still the same principle. So Ryatsu could probably, counteract again Jutsu. So he just raises his Ryatsu a bit. Spiritual pressure. Itachi immediately, and by the way, we're allowing Itachi to be able to see Ichigo. Let's get that out of the way. Plus, with the Sharingan, I would actually, something like the Byakugan or Sharingan, which has a better perception, I would actually argue he might be able to see Ichigo. So there's that as well. So suddenly Itachi gets momentarily floored a bit. It's like, what? And then it's like, you're mine! And then, he comes in, Ichigo's about to take him out, but all of a sudden, Itachi just, Sharingan, just ching, and then he briefly, for a little bit, Ichigo paralyzes, and then Itachi's able to get out of the way, and then Ichigo breaks out of it. So there's going to be a lot of back and forth until eventually Itachi realizes this guy's strong enough that I need to kind of kick my game up a notch here. So basically just goes, he opens his eyes and goes, Tsukiyome, and then grabs, Ichigo gets caught in Tsukiyome. Now, Tsukiyome is kind of like reliving the worst experience of your life, or basically just repetitive torture. Think about that real quick. What would Ichigo, he's going to relive his mother dying over and over and over again. Now, Ichigo has felt the guilt of that for the longest time, and still feels guilty for that, I believe. So he already understands it, so it wouldn't affect him immediately, but just constantly seeing it over and over again would probably F with him a little bit. Meanwhile, and all the while, Itachi's trying to basically, break his mind. However, all of a sudden, Itachi's Itachi's technically not in your mind, but it's an illusion he's creating. All of a sudden, Itachi kind of just hears you're weak, King. What a weak king. He hears Hollow Ichigo, and then he basically, Hollow Ichigo and Zangetsu together, basically break him out of that. And then Ichigo, who's thoroughly pissed at this point, just says that magic word, Bankai! And then Bankai Ichigo appears. And Itachi realizes, like, oh shit. But Ichigo Shumpo's, and they're about to just cleave him in half. Just take his head off. Or cleave him in half. Take his head off. And Itachi realizes he can still see Ichigo, mind you. But that speed, even he knows he can't keep up with Ichigo. So he immediately just has a ribcage of Susanoo appear momentarily just before it just takes him out. Still cracks against the ribcage, and even Itachi's a little thrown off by. He's like, "Oh crap!" So now he's just ching 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 ching. And Ichigo's like, "Get the Gotensho!" Dim poof, the substitution jutsu. All the while Itachi prepares the next one, Amaterasu, and then poof. Ichigo basically just tries to swipe it away. And it does, but his Getsuga still gets set on fire, and he notices that. He's like, my Getsuga's on fire. He quickly realizes he cannot get touched by that fire, and he's basically beelining it out of there, just boom, boom. He's basically just getting out of the way of the fire. So, basically, he just raises the earth, throws the fire back at Itachi. Meanwhile, Itachi's doing everything he can to, prepare, get ready for next Susanoo. But then Ichigo appears behind him and gets like, this is over! And then, as he's coming down, she gets grabbed by the Susanoo's arm, it's like, yes, this is over. For you. I think it's the Tosca blade or something like that. So brings out the Tosca blade. It's like, whoa! And then Ichigo just, gets out of there real close. Avoids that giant blade. Now, it should be noted here that in terms of pure destructive capability, Ichigo's got that well above Itachi in terms of pure power. The reason I say that is while he has Susanoo, and Amaterasu is extremely powerful and devastating, in terms of pure power, Ichigo can still avoid the Amaterasu, basically blow it away with a Getsuga. When you actually break it down, Itachi's got a lot of abilities to his Susanoo, but in terms of pure power, in terms of pure destructive power, besides being a physical entity that throw things around and do damage, comparing it to the three other Susanoos we saw, is actually the weakest in terms of pure power. Sasuke was able to basically launch Amaterasu arrows. So he not even that. He was just able to launch arrows of pure power. Let's not even get started on Madara's. And even Kakashi's, because it had the ability to use Kamui in there, it was more powerful on in terms of offensive capabilities, in terms of destructive capabilities than Itachi's was, when you really break it down. Itachi's just happened to have more abilities to it than, say, something like Sasuke's or really any of them when you break it down. It had just more variety to it. So, but still, Ichigo then suddenly realized he got this, so he dons his hollow man. It's like, Getsuga! Gets that distorted voice, Jensho! And then brings it down again. The sword comes up as they're clashing, because Ichigo oftentimes augments his swing with the Getsuga, so they clash. Ichigo sees the Getsuga being absorbed into the blade, and he quickly gets out of it. He's like, that blade's absorbing my Getsuga. And I don't think Itachi would really want to explain, because he was never one to do that, really. It was Zetsu, actually, basically explained it to the reader what was going on there. So he comes in again, this time, but with the Palamat's gun, he's just blitzing at this point. Comes in again and slams straight into Susanoo. But the Yanomir, I think the Yanomir just takes the brunt of it. So he's coming in, and basically they're stalemating at this point. However, Ichigo has better stamina than Itachi, so Itachi's going to be wearing down. Now, all of his genjutsu at this point isn't going to work, because he's got his hollow Ryatsu going through there. So it's going to be like any chakra. It's going to be like a tail beast chakra, like Jinchuriki's chakra. He's just going to be able to phase it out. So no genjutsu. Really, it's going to come down to power versus power. Now, Ichigo knows he can't be hit by that sword. And at that point, so he's doing his best he can to avoid it. So he tries to get behind him, and I can't remember the name of that third technique, but Itachi then brings out that third technique and just basically nails right into Ichigo. In case he catches Ichigo off guard, just Ichigo goes, ah! And then just swats Ichigo down. So now Ichigo's down. And it's like, yeah, and like once again, it's like, what a weak king I have. And then you just hear that hollow roar, just, roar! I can't do it, but you know that roar. Actually, no, his roar was more like a, yeah! Something more like that. So now you have just Vassal Lordus Hollow Ichigo coming out to play. And again, it's about, when it comes to power, he's pure destruction. But it's about condensing that destruction into one thing. That's the point I was making when I did him versus Naruto. It's about condensing all that power into one small concentrated being. So comparatively, he has far more destructive power. Now he still should not be hit by that Yada mirror. He can't break the Yada mirror, and he can't be hit by the Totsuka blade. However, at this point, he's able to blitz and basically tag the Susanoo itself. Now the Susanoo is still durable, still very durable. But that will still take a brunt of power. That'll take a lot of power. That's still going to be taking a lot of power. It's still going to be cracking under the pressure of this Ichigo. So Getsugas are coming out. He's just smashing into it. He's cracking it. Itachi's now like, he's cracking Susanoo. Holy crap. Brings out the sword. Ichigo basically just serves right into that sword. Doesn't break the sword. The sword's got to absorb it. But the sword, I'm doubting the sword can only seal so much at a time. So the sword's basically being overloaded. I don't think it would break, but it's being delayed. All the while, Ichigo comes in again, just starts smashing into that Susanoo. And then basically breaking into it. And eventually he's about to more or less take out Itachi. Itachi summons the last of his power to he basically breaks into Susanoo and is about to basically end Itachi. He's even gotten scared. It's like, Amaterasu! And then point blank Amaterasu is the Hollow Ichigo, which can't, even with hyper regeneration capabilities, which he would have because we've seen it with his other hollow form, he can't survive an Amaterasu because the Amaterasu just continually burns. Depending where he's hit, which if he's point blank, he's hit all over, he's going to burn to death. So ultimately, I give this to Itachi only because while Hollow Ichigo is more destructive overall and Ichigo overall is just more powerful in terms of sheer power, Itachi has enough techniques, unusual techniques, and niche techniques that he would eventually claim the win, but it would be a close fight. There's a very real scenario where Hollow Ichigo, when he cracks into that Susanoo, doesn't gets him straight through the heart, or just gets him straight through the head, or just cuts him in half. So there's a real scenario that happens. I think the likelihood is, though, that Itachi just barely manages to outlast Hollow Ichigo, because it comes down to Hollow Ichigo. That's the thing. There's also a real scenario where Hollow Ichigo, or Ichigo, does just connect with the blade and he gets sealed away. So there's a real scenario in that too. So I do give it to Itachi, and because of those factors, I give it to him a solid 65-35. There's a good scenario, though, where Ichigo does win. There's a very real scenario where that happens. I go 35% of the time, though. 65% of the time, I do think Itachi wins it. It's just because of... But it comes down to when he eventually activates Susanoo. Once he activates Susanoo, once he activates that, he does have the tools in hand to win. It's just he's got to make sure he can win, otherwise Hollow Ichigo is going to tear him to shreds. So yeah, I go Itachi 65% of the time. But what do you think? Do you think different? If you do, that's cool. Put in the comments below. That's awesome. Well, let's have a fun little debate. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. As always, if you want us to review something, put in the comments below. Let us know. We'll do a review of it at some point. Ideas for who would win, Star Wars, superhero, magic, what if, anything I do on the channel, put that in the comments below as well. I'll get to that at some point. What if and who would win will be up on Wednesday. Another who would win will be up on Friday. I should be seeing Hotel Artemis tomorrow. Incredibles 2 on Thursday. Death Battle prediction on Wednesday as well. So it's a good, fun week, usual week. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you folks next time.